Beginning in 1927 as an annual publication titled Man of the Year, Time's choice for Person of the Year has often been contentious and, in many cases, obvious. Over the years, many choices have been influential leaders during times of crisis, such as Angela Merkel during the Greek financial crisis of 2015, while other choices have been groups of people, organizations, and even concepts. King Edward was forced to abdicate to avoid a constitutional crisis that bloomed from his desire to marry a twice-divorced commoner from the New World. Edward's reign was threatened as head of the Church of England, which did not allow its members to marry a divorcee if their spouse was still alive. Flawless head too. Edward abdicated his throne prior to a formal coronation after 325 days as king. He said, "I now quit altogether public affairs." Then he went into exile in France with the title Duke of Windsor. Wallace's involvement may have been better for England than people realize due to the that Edward and Wallace had for then Chancellor of Germany, Adolf Hitler. 9 Adolf Hitler in 1938. Adolf Hitler is remembered for World War II in Europe and his mass murder of more than 10 million people. He held a meeting with Neville Chamberlain and Benito Mussolini to sign the deal, which led Hitler to further desire his neighbors such as Poland and Czechoslovakia. Time considered the unification a peaceful act and recognized Hitler for his influential role. Hitler's desire to unify Germany into a larger state was only the beginning of his aspiration to expand far beyond Germany's borders. Time's recognition honored his skill at achieving the annexation through diplomacy with his European counterparts. 8 Joseph Stalin in 1939 and 1942. Joseph Stalin isn't the only twice-chosen recipient of Time's annual honor, but he is the only one to receive the honor and be responsible for the deaths of an estimated 20–40 million people, many of whom were his own subjects. Stalin was first chosen in 1939 for his role in the signing of the Non-Aggression Pact with Germany. The pact changed the balance of power in Europe, allowing Hitler to focus on his conquest of Western Europe, while secretly building his forces for an attack on Russia. Stalin was recognized again in 1942 for his role in the defense of his namesake city and Stalingrad was a key city on the road to Moscow, and had it been taken by Germany, Russia may have fallen. His successful defense allowed the Russians to begin the push toward Germany and ultimately led to the end of the war 3 years later. 7 The American Fighting Man. 1950 and 2003. In 1950, Time recognized the American Fighting Man as Person of the Year to honor those involved in the ongoing Korean War. This was the first instance in which the magazine recognized a group of people. The magazine again gave the honor to the in 2003 to recognize the contributions of all American soldiers abroad, especially those involved in the Iraq War, which began in 2003. Time recognized that the ongoing conflicts were the biggest stories of the year and had numerous choices for the honor. We were united in this hope that our men and women at arms might soon come safely home, because their job was done. 6 The Hungarian Freedom Fighter 1956. The Hungarian Revolution of 1956 Aka, the Hungarian uprising, was a failed nationwide revolution against the Soviet-imposed politics of the Hungarian People's Republic. After the Soviet Union took control of Nazi territory following World War II, this was the first major outcry against Soviet rule in Eastern Europe and reflected much of the sentiment of Soviet-controlled territory for the remainder of the 20th century. Time chose to recognize the freedom fighters and the historic revolution, calling it a After the fall of the Soviet Union and the inauguration of the Third Hungarian Republic in 1989, the initial date of the revolution, October 23, was declared a national holiday. 5 USSCIENTISTS 1960 Time predicted that 1960 would be a year of scientific innovation. They recognized U.S. scientists in general, but also singled out 15 for their work in particular. Their choice was made because the heart of scientific inquiry now beats strongest in this country. Of note were accomplishments in genetics, and as well as innovations in space exploration during a time when the space race was just ramping up between the United States and the Soviet Union. Most of the 15 selectees won the Nobel Prize in their respective fields of study. Other areas of emphasis included nuclear technologies, medicine, engineering, vaccinations, subatomic particle study, radiocarbon dating, quantum chemistry, and nuclear magnetic resonance. For the inheritors, baby boomers 1966 and 1966, Time chose to honor those men and women under age 25 called the inheritors. The inheritors, aka baby boomers, are a generation of Americans who arose following World War II, 1946-1964. In honoring them, Time cited a range of accomplishments which separated the boomers from their predecessors. The Man of the Year ran the mile in 3:51. 3 and died under mortar fire in Laos. He got a B- in physics. I earned a Fulbright scholarship, filmed a documentary in a Manhattan ghetto, and guided in space. He earns $76 a week with Operation Head Start in Philadelphia, picks up $10,800 a year as a metallurgical engineer at Ford, and farms 600 acres of Dakota wheat land. Boomers were further recognized for their involvement in the civil rights movement and the counterculture that was arising during the 1960s. 3 American WOME in 1975, similar to their honor of U.S. scientists in 1960, all of whom were men. Time recognized the contributions of American women in 1975. Most notably, Time recognized the feminist movement celebrating the changing roles and diversity of American women. The article profiled 12 women in various fields and discussed the increasing roles of women in sports, politics, business, and many other areas. Some of the women honored in the article included Betty Ford, Billie Jean King, and Carla Hills, who was the third woman to serve in a presidential cabinet as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Other than the wide selection of women chosen for this annual issue, Time had singled out only 3 women previously, and has done so for only 2 women since. Time from Man of the Year to Person of the Year until 1999. To the COMPUTER 1982, the computer was chosen as Machine of the Year in 1982 for its role in spawning the information age. The personal computer was specifically chosen due to its inclusion in people's homes, something that had been too expensive or even impossible previously due to size. This was due to the introduction of the very large-scale integration silicon chip, which increased the number of transistors from 20,000 to 1 million. The market became flooded with affordable machines which could send letters at the speed of light, diagnose a sick poodle, custom tailor an insurance program in minutes, and test recipes for beer. Computers may be ubiquitous today, but in 1982, it was in most could not afford. Shortly after the issue was published, Apple Incorporated began to sell the Apple Lisa, the first home computer with a graphical user interface at a cost of $9,995. Though the Lisa failed in the market, it helped to usher in a new wave of personal computers. 1YOU 2006. If you are reading this, then you were chosen as Time's Person of the Year in 2006. The magazine chose to honor the millions of people who contribute daily to the internet on sites such as YouTube, Facebook, and Misfits. In 2006, user-driven media was beginning to take over the internet through uploaded video content and social media engagements. Time recognized the impact that this was having on a global scale and chose to in its annual issue. Web 2.0 not only brings people together from all over the world, it has also yielded the largest community collaboration ever and has helped to bring about social change across the globe. The internet has given voice to anyone who logs in and decides that they are going to take a stand on whichever issue they choose. As Lev Grossman at Time observed, this is an opportunity to build a new kind of international understanding, not politician to politician, great man to great man, but citizen to citizen, person to person. Jonathan is an illustrator and game designer through his game company, Talking Bull Games. He is an active duty soldier and enjoys writing about history, science, theology, and many other subjects. Read more.